Season 2 of Doctor Who has been on a pretty hot streak of very good episodes, but does this latest installment ruin the perfect run? Let's talk about the good and the bad of the story and the engine. The official synopsis for this story goes: in Lagos, the mysterious barber reigns supreme. The Doctor discovers a world where stories have power, but can he stop the spider and its deadly web of revenge? Oh boy, do I have some stuff to say about this one. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and that cameo, of course. But let's start with the good. Just getting right to the point, the thing I love the most about this story was the concept itself. It is such a strong concept. I feel like the idea of an engine run on stories is so Doctor Who and so clever, but the real chef's kiss for this, the real cherry on top, is setting this story at a barbershop. I just think the barbershop is a perfect location because that's the place that people go to tell their stories, to make small talk, to make friends, to make connection. And I was truly not expecting that from this episode, which is insane because the title is The Story and the Engine. How could I not see that? But I just thought that was absolutely genius and such a strong concept and a welcome concept to the world of Doctor Who. And another huge win for me this episode was Ncuti Gatwa himself. What a performance this episode. Sorely missed last week in Lucky Day because that was a Dr. Light episode, but man, Ncuti needs more scripts like this. We really got to see the range that Ncuti has in this episode. We got to see a more playful, fun side, especially when he's going through the market. He's having an absolute blast. I didn't even think Ncuti knew the cameras were rolling at that point. I think he was just having fun on set. But then we also got to see the rage of Ncuti. He's just a phenomenal actor, and I'm glad that he has been the Doctor. And I swear there was an interview with Ncuti just after he got cast as the next Doctor, and he said one of his bucket list items was to have a Doctor Who episode set in Africa. I swear I remember hearing about that. And here we have it. And it's just the perfect story to set in Africa because the barbershop is such an important part of African culture as well. I really do think that this was a powerful story and will go down as one of Ncuti's personal favorites that he's ever filmed. And something that did not go unnoticed for me was the set design this episode. They really poured some money into the sets for this episode because they kind of had the three main sets. They had the marketplace, which was massive, and they had like 80 extras on the day or something. It was mental, but it looks incredible. I was wondering if they were doing location shootings for this episode because it looks so good, but no, they just filmed that in Cardiff, in freezing Cardiff. I thought the barbershop set was perfect as well. And they had like the engine room, which was all sci-fi and very cool. Yeah, absolute props to the set dressers this episode. They really must have poured some money into it. And they definitely poured some money into the CGI this episode because that spider thing looked so good. So this episode was not written by Russell T Davies. It was written by Anua Ellams, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Anua Ellams. And I just thought he did a really solid job for his first Doctor Who episode ever. And he did something that I think every writer should do. If I was writing a Doctor Who episode, I would do this too. He actually cameos in the episode as one of the people in the markets. If I ever had the privilege of writing a Doctor Who episode, you know for damn sure I'd be in that episode, no matter how small the part. So well done, Anua. I hope you set a trend. But speaking of people I was not expecting to see in this episode, let's talk about it. Spoiler alert. Joe Martin makes an appearance in this episode, the fugitive Doctor. Ay, ay, ay. That cameo was absolutely crazy, and genuinely, I was not expecting it. It was a very, very welcome surprise. And it kind of towed the line of feeling out of place, but I think it worked. Regardless, I was shocked. I gasped. I know I'm just rambling and listing off things I like about the episode, but my thoughts, it's all still pretty scattered in my head about what I liked about this episode. I really love when Doctor Who does an Earthbound story that's not in the UK. We actually travel outside the UK, and what an episode to be set in Africa. And I hope that this, is another trend that continues, and we can finally get a Doctor Who story set in Australia. I don't want a brief cameo of Sydney. I want a whole damn story set in Australia. Because there are so many things you could do in Australia. Like, we have such a rich Aboriginal history here that I really feel like, there could be a beautiful story in there. So anyway, hashtag crispy for showrunner. What else? Mrs. Flood was in this episode. She was bearable, by far the most bearable cameo she's had this season. So good job, Mrs. Flood. The direction was really solid this week, and particularly I want to highlight the shot where they're going through the maze, like trying to find the engine room, and the shot just kind of panned, and it's like a looking down shot. Oh boy, cinema. Chef's kiss. And I think I'm just really enjoying the risks that this season is taking because it's only 8 episodes long, but we have had such a variety of episodes this season, and they've all been pretty good. We are getting bang for our buck. But anyway, that was me telling you a bunch of things I really, really liked about this episode, but there were a few gripes for me in this episode. So let's talk about the bad. Now, the guest cast are great. They were really, really good. I liked their chemistry. I liked everything about them, but they were severely underutilized this episode. The missing people, they're called missing for a reason. They're barely in this episode. A few of these actors were actually in Anua Elam's show, what was it called? The Barbershop Chronicles. And obviously the story in the engine drew heavy inspiration from that play, and some of the actors were in that play. So this cast I truly thought had chemistry, but they were barely in it. I think one of the standout characters for me was Omar. I think that's such an interesting relationship that he had with the Doctor. Like, this was the Doctor's safe space. I really like that. I just would love to see more of Omo. But I understand in 50 minutes you can't really get that. The sheer scale of the cast was to their detriment because it didn't allow for, time with each of the characters, really. It was kind of zipping past pretty quick. And it's actually interesting that one of my criticisms is, the guest cast was too large. There were too many people on screen, because that's like one of my most common critiques of the Jodie Whittaker era. A lot of her episodes, the guest cast was too large and we just kind of had these one-dimensional characters. And it's funny because in doing research for this video, I stumbled across an interview from the Hashtag show where Russell T Davies was a guest on it. And Russell revealed that Anua had been working on a script for the Chris Chibnall era. So I think this episode was supposed to be like in flux, a different version, but the same core idea.
I went and saw a play of his at the National Theatre in London called Barbershop Chronicles, and something about it just made me think, oh, that man should be writing Doctor Who. And then it turned out I was right. I came out, I made inquiries, and it turned out he'd been developing a Doctor Who episode with my predecessor, Chris Chibnall.
But let's talk about the villain, the barber. I think this actor is phenomenal and gave it everything. I really was compelled by his performance. But I think in order to fully appreciate the character, you really have to pay attention to the dialogue, because if you miss it, I don't think you'll understand what's going on, and I think that happened to me on my first viewing. Because there's a scene where the barber's like, oh yeah, I'm Anansi, I'm Dionysus, I'm Loki, the god of stories, and like lists off, I'm all of them, I'm every god of stories. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. But then I think I kind of missed the following bit where, the Doctor laughs and is like, you're not any of those because I've met all of you. And he's like, okay, you got me. I work for the gods. I'm the one that writes down their stories and shares them with humanity. And I'm the one that created this nexus, this gigantic web that connects cultures and ideas. And it is a brilliant concept. Like, that is so cool. But I think I just missed it. So that's probably more on me than anything. But yeah, I think I kind of missed that his motivation was to get revenge on these gods that had done him so wrong. And Abby, I thought, was a really interesting character, but once again, I think slightly underutilized. I would have liked more time with this character. But there's only 50 minutes of screen time. But Abby is actually the daughter of Anansi, who was one of the gods that the barber said that he was, but he's not. She and the Fugitive Doctor have beef because the Fugitive Doctor abandoned her. I think there was a lot going on there, and I think I would have liked to have spent a bit more time kind of explaining and exploring that. And yeah, I think the second act of this story really suffers because of it. But one thing that I definitely did predict in this episode, as soon as they introduced the engine that eats stories, I was like, well, this episode is definitely going to end with the Doctor overloading it with his stories, his never-ending story. The story of the Time Lord known as the Doctor is a beautiful story, one that I've been watching for many, many years now. So I very much called that that's how the day was going to be saved. It was very Rings of Akaten vibes. But my biggest criticism of this episode is, what's one of the Space Babies doing in the episode? What are you doing here? We left Space Babies behind last year. I don't want any part of Space Babies to come back in the finale. Space Babies and I have beef because that episode was the one that I was really excited to show all my friends, and I just don't think it's the strongest season opener Doctor Who's ever had. So what are you doing here, little Space Baby? Huh? Are you Mrs. Flood? The story in the engine was a high concept episode that truly allowed Ncuti Gatwa to shine more than he usually does. Whilst I don't think it's flawless, it really did take some big swings, and I think the story had a lot of heart. There was a lot of heart this episode. With that being said, I will be giving the story in the engine a 7.5 out of 10. But please let me know what you thought of the story in the engine down below. I would love to read your reviews. What do you give it out of 10? Please let me know. I am filming this incredibly late because today was Mother's Day, so I apologize if the editing isn't fantastic. And oh dearie, I've got a barbershop appointment to attend to, so I'll be back. Goodbye, everyone.